What's going on, ladies and gents? Welcome back to another SLA video. First off, happy anniversary, everybody. Hope you all having a blast. We're going to do a little bit of a Cha video, all about Cha, rotation, skills, everything you want to focus on, how she works, how she functions, her pros, her cons, and what you want to focus on when you are building her. Now, before we go anywhere else, I do want to mention this real quick so you guys don't forget. There is an event going on currently online that you all should be participating in. I'll put the link in every single video, but there is a webpage called the Event Daily Gift. It's a 1-year anniversary roulette. If you are playing this game and you want to get some free Essence Stones, log in here every single day. You guys can go right into this website, click the go button, have a chance to win 5,000 Essence Stones. That's right, it's every single day. At the bare minimum, you'll get 30, and that's fine. As you play this, you'll also get coupons on the way, so if you're a spender, this is actually going to give you a little bit of a chance to get yourself some coupons, but you guys can see possible rewards go all the way up to 5,000 Essence Stones, so make sure you guys all do this. Also, speaking of Essence Stones, Content Creator Program, it is up and running again for another season, guys. Make sure you join. If you have not joined yet, it is a imperative thing that you do click that support button, because we have a lot of codes coming, including, that's right, including 1,000 Essence Stones coming very, very soon. I've already submitted both missions that are available, so you'll be getting those 1,000 Essence Stones to all my supporters. Right now, there's no codes that are currently active, but they are being in process of being approved by Netmarble. So once that's going on, we'll be sending that out to all of the supporters. So click that button, guys. Support your boy. Hey guys, real quick before we start the video on all the things that is about Cha, I want to talk about what the big issue is about Cha's kit and why it's so damn flawed, and I hope Netmarble fixes this. Now, first off, just so you guys are aware, A1 and A2, this is when she shines the most. It's unfortunate. I'm going to explain the reason why behind it. Number one, when you're using Cha, she does have this little sword bar that you guys know. It's called the Will of the Sword. It's a gauge. That gauge lasts for 15 seconds, giving you 6 stacks of defense at 5% each when you're at A1. 2% crit and 2% crit damage, stacking 6 times. So 12%, 12%, 30, what, 35%, right? Whatever the case, 30%. So 30% more defense, 12% more crit rate, 12% more crit damage. So that buff lasts for 15 seconds. So at A1 to A2, that buff stays for the full 15 seconds. And the thing that activates that buff is your Heavenly Strike, and your Heavenly Strike goes into your 5 cores at A1. Okay, very straightforward. That lasts for 15 seconds, and because Heavenly Strike is a 15-second cooldown, that buff will stay up pretty much unlimited amount of times, making A1 and A2 the most impressive part of her kit. Now, when you go to A3, A4, A5, it becomes a problem. A3, you have this new thing called Sword Resolve or some shit, and I'm going to show you guys real quick how it works. So let's do skill 2. Okay, you guys are going to see in a second. She's going to activate her Heavenly Strike. There it is. So Blade Master, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, right here, it's a full gauge. You guys saw that, right? Full gauge. Now, right there, she's now got full stacks, 6 stacks of her defense, crit rate, crit damage. Now, normally this will last for 15 seconds. You guys can see it's 246, right? But at the bottom right, you'll see a new thing called Sword Resolve. It's like this little cross-looking thing on a diagonal. It's blue. That only lasts for 6 seconds. And essentially what happens is it changes Heavenly Strike to Heavy Heavenly Strike, and it gives it 60 more percent. But the problem is it's only lasting for 6-second duration. So when that 6-second duration is gone, right, it takes away your buff. So you only get your buff for 6 seconds at the max peak level at A3, rather than the full 15 seconds at A1 and A2. Hope that makes sense to you guys. Now watch what happens. Watch the buff in the bottom, right? Watch the buff in the bottom. And the moment it's gone, it's the second last buff, watch the bar. Boom, bar is gone. Yeah, 6 seconds. 246 to 240. Now, why is that a problem? Well, I've just lost 30% defense, lost 12% crit, lost 12% crit damage. And now I have to wait for the cooldown to end to redo that, which is 3 more seconds. Now, if you do Heavenly Strike, you'll see it's a 15-second cooldown. The bar lasts for 15 seconds, which means at A1 and A2, you can get unlimited buffs and never lose that cooldown. But because of this, watch this, in 6 seconds, boom, gone. There's the flaw in the design. So I really hope Netmarble looks at this, because from A3 to A5, A5 only compensates for A1. That's all it does. You're only getting compensation. It doubles the buff, but it still gives you the 6-second duration. You're only compensated. It doesn't actually do it correctly. So this, I think, is a flawed design. It's not a bug. It's literally a flawed design. So Netmarble, I hope you get your ass together and fix this, because quite honestly, I think this is a really ridiculous design on a character that she should just keep the whole thing for 15 seconds. There should be no 6-second cooldown. The Resolve, that buff should be permanent. there should be no reason that A1 and A2 allows you to spam that buff unlimited, while A3 and A5 makes you lose it in 6 seconds. What the hell? So you have to wait a whole 9 seconds to get that buff back up again and then rebuild it. While A1 and A2, it's there almost permanently the whole time. All right, folks, there you guys go. Let's go into the rest of the video. All right, guys, back here again. So I jumped on my pay to win account. That's right, where we have a maxed out Cha, and I'm going to give you guys a full breakdown of everything you need to know. Now, I already made a video about her best sets in her core, so I'm going to go through that really quickly. The best current set going on for her is actually the 4-piece Infamy set and the 4-piece Obsidian set. If you are running her in teams, though, where you are using for GB or POD, then it's 8-piece Infamy. Now, why does Infamy work so well? Well, we're going to break it down for you guys. Now, alternate sets as well could be 2-piece Curse, 2-piece Infamy with Obsidian, or you can run 4-piece Curse. All of those worked out really well. I do have numbers for you guys as well. You guys can go check out the video. So I'm not going to spend too much time on that. Now, in terms of cores as well, the purple core is still the best core for her. So that's going to be the core damage one, because a lot of her core damage, or a lot of her damage does come from her core. So it's this purple one specifically. And then over here, you're going to want either this defensive one, or you can use the ultimate skill one if you like, which works as well. Or you can use this defensive one here when her HP's 70% or lower. That works as well. Whichever one you want to use. Realistically, she does stack a lot of defense. And then, of course, the last one is going to be the lack of empty consumption during her basic skills. So all of these are going to be the most important cores. Now, if you look at her skills, this is what's going to confuse a lot of people on how to play her. So the skill guide here tells you specifically to run this skill first. So Sword Storm, right? Sword Storm does the unrecoverable debuff and also does the damage right from the get-go. And then you want to run Heavenly Strike. And then from there, Heavenly Strike will become your core attack. You do it 5 times. You cast your ultimate if available, and then go back to basic skill again. If that's ultimate's not available, you just do this basic skill one more time. Now, how does this work? Why does it work? How does she function? All right, this is important to note. Now, whenever you do Sword Princess Dance, which is this skill here, and whenever you do this Sword Princess Dance or Heavenly Strike, which is these 2 skills right there, the core and that skill, you will then activate the Will of the Sword gauge, okay? Now, Will of the Sword gauge gives you pretty incredible buffs. Now, you can see over here, whenever the user uses Sword Princess or Heavenly Strike, Heavenly Swords will occur, and then the number of blades that can be summoned by the Heavenly Swords will increase based off the Will of the Swords gauge recharge level, and we'll show you guys that very shortly in the video. The user deals water damage equal to 175% of their defense for every blade summoned as part of the Heavenly Sword skill. This counts as a basic skill. That's very important to note, guys, okay? Essentially what that means is even the core attack will be considered a basic skill when Heavenly Swords is activated. So that's very, very important. And this is why Infamy works so well, because the Infamy set that's being used, right, I'm going to show you guys the Infamy set right here, is actually giving her the following buffs. When it's 4-piece, it increases the basic skill damage by 2.5%, stacking up to 20 times, and also gives her basic skills MP recovery of 5% each time. So we tried all the different sets. You guys can go check out that video to see all the sets that we did. But at the end of the day, the one that conquered them all was in fact this one, which was the Infamy set. Okay, so very important to note that. It's very, very important that you guys remember that set is going to probably be the best set in the game for her for quite some time. Now, if you run full 8-piece, that'll be better for, obviously, again, team bosses, POD, guild boss, etc., right? So the Infamy set works out best because of that reason. Now, let's go back to the passives. Whenever the Will of the Sword is active, based on all of these gauges, applies the effect below for every Will of the Sword. So every time you increase your defense by 5% at A0, increase your crit rate by 2%, and increase your critical hit damage by 2%. This lasts for 15 seconds, stacking up to 6 times. Okay, this is the important part to remember. This right here is her bread and butter when it comes down to her buffing. So very, very powerful to increase that gauge. Sword Storm changes to quick attack. Sword Storm increases the damage by 60% when the user uses Heavenly Strike. It activates the Blade Master effect, enhancing the Will of the Sword. So you guys will see the Blade Master effect here. The user's core attack changes to Dance of Scattered Blades. While using Dance of Scattered Blades, they gain super armor. When the user uses core attacks, it activates. They use the Dance of Scattered Blades. They don't consume their core gauge. So you do this 5 times in a row. Very, very important. Of course, this will also apply yet again the Will of the Sword, right? And this is where her core spamming occurs. Shout out to Prism for making this happen. Again, we're going to show you guys this in action very shortly. Okay. Now the next part here. A2, when Heavenly Strike hits, it activates the Unrecoverable effect. When Sword of Destiny hits, it activates the Paralyze effect. So keep in mind, Sword of Destiny, guys, really important to remember, because Sword of Destiny, number one, you want to use this when it's up during the first boss Bedelia, because she does have a shield in that effect. You want this to be active so you can actually paralyze her, because that shield can only be interrupted with a paralyze or a stun. So that's going to be very important. I want to keep that in the back of your mind, that this is not only a good thing, but it's also a strategic thing to use when the time is right. One thing I will say that is bugged, and everybody else has noticed it as well: if the enemy is short or a little bit too close to you and you cast your ultimate, you will miss your ultimate. So I hope that's a bug that they fix. You have to step back a little bit for your ultimate to actually hit, because it hits in a row and sometimes will actually miss a smaller enemy. All of us have noticed this, so I hope Netmarble addresses this and fixes the problem. All right, so Sword of Destiny ultimate will cause paralyze at A2. Now, A3. This is where it gets dicey. A3, when the Will of the Sword gauge recharges to 100%, it activates the Sword Resolve effect. You guys can see your Sword Resolve. Heavenly Strike changes to Heavenly Strike, increasing the damage by 60%. Consumes all Will of the Sword gauge when the duration ends. Lasts for 6 seconds. Now, this is what I talked to you guys in the beginning. Sorry, I had to switch accounts and screens and everything. This is what I was showing you guys in the beginning of the video, where the flaw starts happening, right? Where you guys see the Will of the Sword buff normally lasts for 15 seconds, right? 15 seconds right there, you guys see it, stacking up to 6 times. And Heavenly Strike is actually a 15-second or 16-second cooldown, so it's almost infinitely up at all times. This skill right here actually causes it to be a big problem, because that 6-second cooldown causes you to lose your Will of the Sword buff, which gives you all of these amazing buffs right here that stack up to 6 times almost instantly, and you're stuck with Heavenly Sword being on cooldown for at least 5 to 6 seconds. So that means for that 5 to 6 seconds, you've lost all your buffs for defense, you've lost all your buffs for crit rate, and you've lost all your buffs for crit damage. This is the flaw of the character. This buff right here, this duration, needs to at least be 9 seconds. At the very least be 9 seconds to allow Heavenly Strike to be up almost at all times with a 1-second cooldown or a 0.5-second cooldown. For an anniversary character, that is a must. This 6-second cooldown is literally ruining the character. Also, A4, for every character that's in the team, you get Chahayan gets crit hit rate increased by crit hit damage increase by 7% for every 3 characters. So per character, that's, you know, obviously 3 times 7, that's 21. The Will of the Sword, another flawed situation here, right? Where you see the Will of the Sword, now the buff is doubled. It's even more of a gut shot here. You're getting 10% defense, so 60%, and then 4 and 4 times 6 for 15 seconds. Yet again, the Pure Sword Princess is fine as well. This just gives you a buff to all of your Heavenly Strike attacks. So this is great. Again, the A3 is what's killing it. This Sword's Resolve, yo, flip that 6 to a 9. Just like 69, just flip it to a 9, baby. And you got yourself the character we all want. Change this. This is the best character in the game by far. It's not even a question. By far. Keep it at 6. You've now created a flawed character. So Netmarble, I hope you fix this. But without further ado, let's show you guys all this in action. And show you guys how her kit works and how you want to actually do the full rotation. Alright, so battle in. First thing, as it says, you guys can see Pure Sword Princess, that buff is now currently up, right? So the first thing you want to do is start off with the skill 2. See how Infamy activated there? Okay, now we're going to go with the skill 1, and the gauge now starts moving. Look, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And look, you guys can see here, Infamy was activated every single time that move worked. Right? So you guys can see it is in fact considered a skill, okay? So the gauge is up, the gauge is gone, right? Now, some of you guys were wondering what that red debuff was in the bottom. That is your Infamy set taking into effect, all right? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. You guys saw that. Now we're 18 stacks of Infamy, and this is why Infamy works so well. Her damage now is going to skyrocket because of that, right? So this is essentially how you work this unit. So you guys can see all the buffs are being applied. There's the Blade Master buff, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. There's Sword Resolve. Now if you were to do your skill 2, you'll pull off a lot more damage, right? So again, there it is. 20 stacks of Infamy. Skill 2. There's Blade Master again. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, right? And again, full stacks of Infamy on this one. And now you guys will see here, I don't know where he's running to, but the skill should cause paralyze as well. See the paralysis right up there? You guys can see it. It's the last buff that was up there. So that's pretty much how you run her and use her. Very straightforward. The only strategic part you have to be very careful with is that paralysis, specifically where her ultimate comes into play on the first boss of WOBL. Whenever you're fighting Bedelia specifically, there's a part of that fight where she will actually cast a shield, and it specifically tells you she must be interrupted. This is where she comes into in hand as probably one of the most important units, because in hard mode, I can imagine that shield will, when it pops on Bedelia, if you don't interrupt it on time, will probably one-shot all of your, or whatever unit is on the field at the time. All right, guys, there you guys have it. That is essentially how to use Princess Cha. Her best team currently is going to be Sarin, Mei Lin, and Cha. The best rotation is break with Sarin. Make sure you have 10 stacks of water. And then with Mei Lin, you want to make sure you cast your cheer and that cat paw move, for what it was called, pump it up or something, pump up. And then if you can cast her ultimate, of course, that helps as well. That'll boost everyone's damage in terms of defense, crit, etc. And then, of course, going in with Cha Hae-in and casting your rotation, skill 2 into skill 1, into 5 core attacks, into skill 1 again, or your ultimate, then back into skill 1. All right, guys, thank you so much for watching. Hope you enjoyed the video. I'll see you guys in the next one. Take care.